They say hospitals are places of healing, but what if they're also home to something far more sinister? One woman's visit to her dying grandmother became a waking nightmare, an experience she'll never forget, and one you won't believe. Stay with me, if you dare, to uncover what truly happened on that fateful night. Hospitals, often seen as sanctuaries of healing, can sometimes harbor dark and unsettling secrets. Leah learned this the hard way on a night that will haunt her forever. It was late when Leah's phone rang, a call from the hospital where her grandmother was admitted. Her grandmother's condition had deteriorated rapidly, and the doctors urged Leah to come immediately. Exhausted from a long day at work, her heart raced with dread as she rushed to the hospital. When she arrived, the air was thick with an unsettling stillness. Her grandmother lay on a ventilator, fighting for each breath. Though Leah wanted to stay by her side, the doctors warned her.
It isn't safe to remain here alone at night.
Something about the way they said it sent a chill down her spine. But Leah, refusing to leave her grandmother, ignored their advice and chose to stay. Alone in the empty waiting area, clinging to the hope that her grandmother would pull through. As the minutes dragged on, the bustling hospital transformed into an eerie void. The once familiar sounds of machines and nurses' footsteps disappeared. The lights flickered, casting long shadows down the sterile corridors that seemed to stretch endlessly, like a labyrinth. Leah's phone battery died, plunging her into total darkness. Leah's eyes grew heavy. Exhausted, she slumped onto a bench and drifted into a restless sleep. A piercing scream shattered the silence, jolting her awake. Leah's heart raced as her eyes darted around the room, which was now bathed in dim, flickering light. Was it a dream? She heard the faint sound of footsteps echoing down the hall. In the distance, a shadowy figure, a woman, moved quickly, just beyond her line of sight. Was it a nurse or something else? Driven by fear and concern, Leah followed the figure, her footsteps quickening as she turned the corner. But the figure had vanished into thin air. She returned to the waiting area, her pulse quickening. That's when she saw her, a woman standing in the shadows outside her grandmother's room. Her face was pale and hollow, her eyes dark and sunken. A twisted, unnatural grin spread across her face, her presence radiating pure malice. Leah froze, her breath caught in her throat. The woman's mouth opened slowly, forming a silent scream that Leah could feel more than hear. Suddenly, the woman vanished, like a shadow disappearing in the light. Leah's scream echoed through the empty halls as she backed away, her legs trembling with terror. Panic took over. Leah ran through the cold, silent corridors, her frantic breaths echoing in the oppressive stillness. She cried for help, but the hospital seemed empty, like it had been abandoned in the middle of the night. Her calls were swallowed by the darkness, her footsteps sounding louder than they should, as though someone or something was behind her. Suddenly, she heard it again. A low, rasping voice, distant but unmistakable.
Leah.
It seemed to come from everywhere, echoing off the cold walls.
Hello, Leah.
Her heart pounded in her chest as she stumbled into a random room, desperately locking the door behind her. She spun around to find herself in the morgue. The cold, sterile air hit her like a punch. Metallic drawers lined the walls, some open, revealing the ghastly sight of bodies inside, their faces obscured by white sheets. The room was filled with the unsettling smell of decay. Leah's stomach churned, her head spinning. The sound of footsteps grew louder, closer, slow and deliberate. A voice, cold and familiar, cut through the silence.
Leah.
The words made her blood run cold. She spun around, her vision blurring as the lights flickered violently. There was no one in sight, but the voice seemed to come from everywhere, like it was surrounding her. The voice came again, this time closer, dripping with malice.
Leah.
Leah's head swam, her knees buckling under the weight of terror. The last thing she saw before everything went black was the reflection of a grinning face in the cold steel of the morgue drawers. Leah woke up to bright lights and distant voices. Hospital staff found her lying unconscious on the morgue floor. She was physically unharmed, but the mental scars ran deep. She could barely speak about what had happened that night, her mind fractured by the horrors she had witnessed. The hospital staff searched for answers, but there were none. No one else had seen the woman. There were no screams reported at 2 a.m. The figure Leah chased down the hallway, gone. Yet Leah's story persists as a chilling reminder. Some horrors can't be explained. Some terrors lurk in places of healing. And sometimes, the most terrifying experiences happen in the places we least expect.